Hey guys, I have gotten a ton of questions about the Pickl It over the weekend. I've done 2 posts in the series so far, and I've had so many people email me questions and ask because they've never seen an airlock before, they've never worked with a Pickl It, they're not quite sure what to do. So I decided to do a quick video and show you all about the Pickl It. This is the 1.5 liter size Pickl It. Okay? So as you can see, it's bigger than a mason jar. Alright? It's made of a Fido jar. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Italian. And I don't speak Italian, but it comes with an airlock and a dunker. And the jar is 2 pieces. Now let's look at the jar. Okay, first off, you can see this is nice, thick, high quality glass. Fido is BPA free, lead free. It's a well-known, high-quality jar. It's made in Italy. These things aren't cheap, okay? People want to compare this with a mason jar, and guys, let's be honest, there's no comparison between the two. These are much higher quality jars, okay? A mason jar is less than $1 for a quart jar. You can't get these online, you know, I think including shipping. I took a look a couple days ago, and including shipping they were around $20 for one, okay? These are high quality jars. It comes with a rubber ring, okay? Now when it arrives, it is already assembled, so you don't have to worry about this, but you do have to take it off for washing. I want you to see how thick this rubber ring is, okay? See that? It's so 1/8 of an inch maybe. It's high quality, okay? When you put it in and you lock the lid on, that ring is what keeps air from seeping in. The sealing compound on a mason jar lid is not this thick. It doesn't have this much give to it, okay? That's the difference. Mason jars aren't airtight, okay? As far as a mason jar is concerned, it might as well be the Grand Canyon, alright? So this has the locking lid. The wire bells are lead free. Then you've got a grommet here, okay? They drill, you can see the Fido insignia in the top of the jar, and it says made in Italy. But you can see they've drilled a hole here, and they've got a grommet, and it's a food grade, I believe it's silicone grommet. I'd have to double check to make sure. But it's a very high quality. Kathleen had these tested to make sure, the owner of Pickl It, Kathleen, had these tested to make sure they're good quality. Kathleen's a mom. She has kids. She wants to know that the stuff that she's producing is quality and is not going to make them sick. No BPA, no nasties, no other things. Your food only touches glass when you follow the directions, okay? Let's be honest, BPA has been a nasty bear. So many of us have read enough about it that we don't want BPA in, you know, our kids coming in contact with that. I don't want my kids exposed to BPA, okay? The other options for putting an airlock onto a mason jar, number one, you still have those threads there. They're still going to get air in. Even, you know, if you're using a mason jar lid, you're still getting air coming in from the sides. The airlock isn't the main issue. The main issue is the threading, and it's just not a quality seal. But when you're using those types of lids, the plastic lids have the potential for formaldehyde. The metal canning lids, the traditional metal canning lids, have BPA. The white lining on the inside of them has BPA. I don't want that stuff being, you know, I don't want my kids exposed to that. I assume most of you don't either, and so that's one reason why I support the Pickl It, is it doesn't have any of those nasties in it. So, to use the Pickl It, what you do, you just open it up, give it a good wash when it arrives, and it'll already be assembled. You'll have the dunker and the airlock in the jar, and you're just going to take those out. And you'll also have a little plugger. It's made of the same material as the grommet, and we'll get to that in a minute. You put your veggies in, and I normally try to fill them up to about here. Pour in some brine. 19 grams of salt to 4 cups of water is what you're looking at. That's about a teaspoon per a tablespoon per 4 cups, okay? I have a kitchen scale. I just weigh it real quick. That's the best way to know you're getting it right, because depending on what grind of salt you're using, you can be putting more or less in if you just measure. So if you have a scale, that's the best way to go. So put your veggies in. I normally fill it up to about right here. Pour some brine in, and then you're going to take your dunker. Now this is it's glass, flat on one side, and you can see here it's concave on the other. Alright, what you're going to do is you're going to put the flat side down on the veggies, and you're going to take a French rolling pin or something else that will fit into the mouth of the jar that's flat that you can use to push this dunker, and you're just going to use it to pack the vegetables down. Now the reason you're doing that is twofold. Number one, you get more veggies in the jar. Number two, when you pack it down, it pushes any air bubbles out. The quicker you get the air out, the quicker you get to the stage of fermentation that produces all the lactic acid bacteria. So it's a good idea to get all the air out. So you're just going to pack it in, and you want to pack it in and have all the veggies sitting below the dunker. Fill the brine up just to the shoulder, okay? Don't go past the shoulder, and the reason is when you ferment, the vegetables produce carbon dioxide, and those carbon dioxide forms bubbles, and those bubbles rise, and they push the veggies up with them. And so your veggies are going to expand, and if they expand too much because you filled it too full, it's going to push the brine or the veggie matter into the airlock. It creates a mess. It's just better not to do it that way. Follow the directions, fill it up to here, and you won't have to, stop after a few days and repack everything and take some out. So let's just stick with the shoulder, okay? Then what you're going to do is in the grommet here, you're just going to take a drop or two of water, put it on, and that helps make it easier to slip your airlock in. Now the airlock is made of 3 separate pieces. You have the lid, the main body of the airlock, and we call this a bobber. We don't know what it's called technically, but hey, for our uses, it's a bobber. Okay, so you take it and you just gently twist it in. Very carefully so you don't tear that grommet. And you want to push it until the open end is just showing through the bottom of the grommet, okay? So that will allow the carbon dioxide to escape. And at that point, just take the jar and lock it down. Okay. Take your bobber, pop it in. You'll see there's a fill line here. It's about 1½ tablespoons. You're going to pour water on top of the bobber into the airlock. Pop the lid on. Now the lid, you can see the little holes in the lid. That lets the carbon dioxide escape. Now I've had people ask, how does an airlock work? And how does it keep oxygen out, but let the carbon dioxide come out as well? Okay, here's how it works. With that water, what happens is the carbon dioxide comes up through the middle tube, and it comes up to the bobber. So the bobber sits like this, and it comes up into, and that bobber floats up the more carbon dioxide is released. Now, in the bobber, or on the bobber, you can see there's these little slots, little holes here. And as it floats up, the carbon dioxide eventually works its way down and bubbles out of these holes into the water that is surrounding it. So the water is the barrier that keeps the oxygen from getting into the system, but allows the carbon dioxide out. And that's why you fill it with the water. So you can see it's got some room there, but the lid has the holes to let the carbon dioxide out. So it's really easy to put together. It just takes you, a couple minutes. You're going to take a kitchen towel and wrap it from here down. Now there's 2 reasons to do that. Number one, certain lactic acid bacteria are light sensitive. You want to preserve those as much as you can, so wrapping it helps. But number 2, certain vitamins like vitamin C are light sensitive as well. So when you wrap it, you help preserve that as well. So I just wrap a kitchen towel or 2 around it, and you want to put it in a spot in your house that's upper 60s, low 70s. You don't want to set it near the stove or near a running appliance like the refrigerator, because the outside of your fridge does get hot, okay? I like to pop them in my basement, let them sit there. In the summer, I prefer the basement, but you're aiming for somewhere around 68 to 72 degrees. So find you a good spot in your house that's out of the way, and just put it in there. If you have a closet, a kitchen cabinet that's tall enough. Pickl It does make a mini airlock that is for the smaller jars. You'll see that available on their website. That can be a good option for leaving an airlock on in the refrigerator, or for fermenting in the smaller jars. But in the big jars, you do want to use the larger airlock. Now, again, this is the 1.5. They do make a 3 and a 5 liter as well, and then they make 3/4 liter and 1 liter, I believe. So you've got a variety of sizes. This is like the middle size. I use this for sauerkraut, water kefir, sourdough. If you have followed the blog for a while, you know that I ruined my kitchen ceiling with a sourdough explosion, that I spent hours scraping sourdough off of my ceiling. That's when I went to doing my sourdough in a Pickl It. When I ferment large amounts of garlic and things like that, I prefer the 1.5. The smaller ones are good for things like salsa and mayonnaise, stuff like that. Now, if your family eats a lot of ferments, you might want to consider a 3 or a 5 liter. It takes 12 weeks for something like sauerkraut to mature. Personally, sauerkraut is my favorite. So you use the larger ones so you can keep it in rotation. That way you've always got one perking on the counter and one in the fridge that you're able to enjoy. The 5 liter is great for things like dill pickles as well, and we'll be doing some of those this summer, and I'm really excited to finally get to make some decent dill pickles. So those are the options for the sizes that they come in. You can look on their website. They have lots of information. There's facts on how fermentation works, how to assemble. They've got a picture tutorial on there that's good as well. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to email me. Use the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions I can. I know a lot of people have been very upset at my series for 2 reasons. Number 1, they think their mason jar is enough. And number 2, they feel like in order to promote a product that's expensive, I must be getting a kickback. So let me answer that now. Financially, I receive 0 compensation from Pickl It. I support Pickl It because I believe that, number 1, it is a very high quality product. It's well constructed. I'll be able to pass it down to my kids. Number 2, it's made by a work-at-home mom who is trying to do the best that she can. She's shown herself to be ethical, great customer service. I have, over the last few weeks in writing this series, I have emailed her repeatedly, and she has always answered my questions. She's been great, okay? Let's just be honest. You're paying for service. You're paying for very high-quality products. You get what you pay for, okay? Third reason is the lactic acid bacteria. After looking at the science and talking with my dad did fermentation and chemistry for years before his car accident. Most of y'all know my dad's disabled. But he worked in water chemistry and wastewater chemistry for years, taught classes, knows his chemistry backwards and forwards. He was impressed with this, okay? I believe this is the best route to produce lactic acid bacteria. Get it into your family, keep your ferments fresh, crunchy, they don't go gray, limp, soggy, nasty, moldy, and be able to get the best use out of your vegetables while benefiting yourself the most. Okay, 12 weeks. I had some questions about the 12 weeks. Yes, 12 weeks for your sauerkraut. Okay, here's why. Fermentation takes place in stages. Okay, you have 4 stages. The first stage takes 2 to 3 days. That's where the bacteria that are currently in it just use up the oxygen. Okay, if after 3 days you pop it open, take a bite, throw it in your fridge, well, number 1, you just started the process all over again because you let air into it. And number 2, fermentation seriously slows down in the fridge. Okay, we don't want to be putting things in the refrigerator if we can help it. All right, you want all of the fermentation to finish before you refrigerate. You refrigerate finished products. You don't use the refrigerator to slow down vegetable fermentation. Okay, so yes, 12 weeks on the counter to get it to where you have the maximum amount of lactic acid bacteria, and it has eaten all of the lactic acid bacteria have eaten all of the sugar and the starch out of the vegetables. Basically what that leaves you with is veggie fiber, veggie flavor, and a whole lot of beneficial bacteria. And that's really what you're after when you're eating a ferment as a condiment, is you're after it for the lactic acid bacteria. Okay, if you have questions, feel free to email, post comments in the comment box below. I'll be more than happy to answer what I can. If there are questions I can't answer, I'll ask the owner of the Pickl It, and we'll get get answers for you. Thanks so much for watching.